Let's do receiving yards right now. Either tight ends or wide receivers we'll focus on. Harry, you got that, right? We're going to just tight ends and wide receivers.
Oh, you can do tight ends. Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you can do tight ends. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, make sure it's in the outline. Yeah, that's how you can tell right there. It's
sure.
NFL wide receivers, tight ends. For receiving
yards, ago, we're talking receivers, and I said I brought up Kelsey, and you said wide receivers. So I just want to make sure.
Well, let's see how much you love Kelsey, because you definitely have a chance to pick him in some of these categories. So I imagine you will, seeing as he's going to be the MVP. So for receiving yards, Justin Jefferson, everybody loves him, and Cooper Kupp. Why not? 9-1 odds. They lead the board there, and Jamar Chase at 12-1 to have the most receiving yards. Now, what I'll say about this is there's a lot of big names in there, that mid-range, big odds guys who have a shot if you believe that Kupp can't duplicate that insane year he just put up, and that Devonte Adams is going to regress a little without Rodgers, because those two, if you look at last year's stats, heads and shoulders above the rest. But again, if you those two things that I brought up, if you believe in that, then you have a shot at some mid-range guys like Stephon Diggs, 14-1 odds. I like him. 8th in receiving last year at 12-25. Plays in one of the more explosive offenses. I mean, they scored 90, the Bills, against the Patriots in the playoffs. Weird thing with Diggs is 1,535 yards 2 years ago. That would have put him right in the running last year, right? Mm-hmm. If not for Kupp. He had more touchdowns last year, but I don't know. You look for a happy medium between 20 and 21. Between about 1,400 yards. He's right there in the mix. He's got a new contract. I think this team is ready to thump the rest of the AFC foes there, and Diggs is a big part of this thumping. 14-1 is nice odds for this guy, have the most receiving yards. Parlay Kid, you're going to go with Kupp right there at the top. You can't lose with him if he doesn't get injured. You're going to put up a lot of yards per game.
Well, exactly. As long as he stays healthy, and basically you could say that about every guy on the list, right? If they stay
but you
healthy,
Stafford's got to stay healthy too, right? Obviously, when
that's
I
a good
Josh
point.
Allen
the quarterback here
yeah.
For all these guys has to stay healthy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always a big question mark. But Kupp, coming off such a dominant year at 9-1 in a year, 1,947 yards, 145 receptions, 191 targets. He's a great route runner. It's very hard to double him. He's got help now with more help with Robinson here. He had 10 100-yard games last season. That doesn't include the playoffs, when you have to figure their game plan was to stop Kupp. And his last 3 games, he went for 183, 142, and 92 in the Super Bowl. Virtually unstoppable in the prime of his career. He can go deep. He catches the real short ones, the intermediate ones, and the deep ones. He does a little bit of everything as a receiver. He's a machine. This guy is a receiving machine. He's as reliable as they come. Rarely drops the ball. Him and Stafford that was their first year playing together. What a connection they had. I think it stays the same this year. And even if his numbers decline a little bit, he could still win this, because he was 300 yards more than anybody else last year.
Oh, he went nuts. I mean, you look at him and Jonathan Taylor. Like, if you just want to take both of them to run it back, what do you get? Jonathan Taylor 7-1. Bry, we were talking about Kupp 9-1. It's likely that at least one will repeat, right?
Taylor's a little lower, right? He was plus 450 for yards.
Oh, 450 for yard, right? Touchdowns was so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Although Kupp for most receptions is plus 500. I mean, is anybody getting close to him?
Right. Yeah. They're gonna feed him. I guess the key is to find who's Parlay Kid, the new not who's the new Cooper Kupp. Of course, that's the key. But who is first year with their quarterback that jumps out of nowhere? I mean, let's face it, Cooper Kupp. He didn't play a full year in 2020, but he had 3 touchdowns, right? So he went from 3 to 16. We can't make it like, oh my God, he's been great for 5 or 6 years. So you got to find that. He's a terrific player. I'm not taking anything away from what he did, but who else is like that? This is not the case for Justin Jefferson. Harry, you like Jefferson, although he's with the new head coach who did well with Cooper Kupp. I think O'Connell, that's the thinking behind Justin Jefferson at 9-1, right?
Yeah, I think Jefferson, this is the year. He takes over where Cooper Kupp left off last year. Jefferson, tremendous. 2 years in the league with Minnesota. 200 receptions, 3,000 yards. And in his last season at LSU, he had over 1,500 yards, 111 receptions. Kevin O'Connell, you just mentioned, Sal, did great things in LA.
Anything in high school? Was he good in high school, or just no? Anything?
111 receptions. He's a machine. 111 receptions in college is insane. Kevin O'Connell did great things in LA as the Rams OC, and this Vikings team with him adding Cousins plus Jefferson is the perfect equation for massive yards as this team's loaded on offense, and they're going to show it. Justin Jefferson, 9-1, has that bust-out monster season. Not that his season last year wasn't huge, but huge here, like Cooper Kupp like last year. Vikings, will lead the NFC in points.
When you say again, you mean just like I said last year and the year before and the year before. That's what you mean by again. All right. Again, this is what I think.
Is there any teams? Is there any team
Sometimes they come to fruition
harder against the Minnesota? Really? I mean,
what's that? Say again.
Is there any team we're going to be rooting harder against than Minnesota?
I mean, it's tough.
Love and between us.
By the way,
Bob
Darren, you mentioned you beat
Bob
Darren. You mentioned
killing you this year, Harry.
Oh, that guy, Dombrowski.
I do want to talk about that. Yeah, that's crazy. But that was about. What was that? What was he talking? Oh, that was the Jalen Hurts. Oh, we'll get to that. There's so many inconsistencies here. But all right. Bry, you like Jamar Chase. Hard to argue with any of these guys. I mean, this is just you have fun. Take a couple of them, right? But 10-1, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I was trying to find a long shot too. I mean, maybe some of those guys, I don't know, maybe like a DJ Moore or somebody, I don't know, could have a huge year. But yeah, Chase, look, he had one of the all-time best rookie seasons ever, right? For any type of skill position. And he was awesome in the playoffs as well. So like when you look at him, his numbers last year were comparable. I mean, they were better touchdown wise, but very comparable to Jefferson in his rookie year, right? It's amazing that those two were teammates with Burrow. Right. But then you saw Jefferson in his second year, right? 40 more targets, 20 more receptions. I think you're going to see something comparable with Burrow and Chase this year. So I don't think to me, 110 catches, 1,750 yards is not out of the question for a guy like Chase, who's just a phenomenal receiver. So I like 10-1. I think 10-1 for him is pretty good. But yeah, you can't argue with any of these guys for sure.
Yeah, boy, we're not doing receptions, but what's Kupp's odds? Did you say, Bry?
5-1. 5-1.
So he had 145 last year,
right?
And the next highest is Devonte Adams at 123. You got to figure he's not going to have that many in that Raiders offense. So, okay. And then, so the next highest is Jefferson, 108. Man, you're about 30% higher than the next highest. I know, and getting 5-1 odds. So,
yeah, that's pretty good.
Injuries aside, that's a good bet. All right, let's do receiving touchdowns. Mike Evans and Cooper Kupp at 7-1. This one's a little bit different than yards. Kelsey, Chase, Jefferson, and Adams at 9-1. I am going with T. Higgins. I'm taking a long shot here. He only had 6 last year. He had 2 in the Super Bowl, which is kind of important. But 4 of his last 6 regular season games, he had 400-yard games. He had 96 or more in 3 of the 4 playoff games. I mentioned the yards because I kind of think, in a way, touchdowns are a little bit lucky, right? You get the yards, you're going to break a tackle here or there, unless it's a Devonte Adams kind of thing where you're as good as a running back down by the goal line, but he's no longer with the Packers. Kelsey, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen didn't have 10 last year, but Hunter Henry had 9. So there is some luck in there. Like I mentioned, Kupp went from 3 to 16. I think T. Higgins is the one that explodes. He takes Jamar Chase's touchdowns away from him. Sorry, brother Bry. I'm liking Higgins at 20-1. Harry, you're going to go Kelsey here, right? Because you have him to win MVP, and his odds are right there at 9-1, right? You have to take Travis Kelsey. How's he going to win the MVP without getting the most touchdowns?
I considered it, and I think Kelsey could still win the MVP if he gets like 15. But I told Brian last night, I'm working on my gritty dance. I'm working on my gritty dance because I'm taking Justin Jefferson again at 9-1. He has 17 touchdowns in 2 seasons with the Vikings. He's going to get 17 alone this year. Now, Kupp had 16 last year under O'Connell and with Stafford. and he's going to get 17 this year. So when we're together, I'm going to when he scores touchdowns, I'm going to work on my gritty dance too. Every time he scores, I'm around you, Sal. I'm going to do the dance because he is going to go for 17 at 9-1, most touchdowns. Sky's the limit for JJ and O'Connell and Cousins, and it's going to be just a scoreboard bonanza for the Vikings, like I said, and JJ at 9-1.
All right, now I don't know what to root for. I do want to see this dance.
Who's like
I
said? He said like times. I said and JJ. Who's like I said? Is that a player?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd see him on the board. Yeah, he's at 45-1. Like I said, it's just ahead of just saying at 59-1. All right. Parlay Kid, Mike Williams. Yes, he's forgotten it. I mean, that goes in line with what I'm saying about these number 2 receivers that could really step up if touchdowns are as lucky as I say they are, right?
Yeah, well, is he really the number 2 receiver here with the Chargers now? I think he might be surpassing Keenan Allen as their number 1. I mean, Allen is really just a possession receiver at this point of his career, not getting, he's still great. But, Harry and I talk about Mike Williams all the time on the side, right, Harry? Like, we're always saying, like, this guy, underachiever.
Is Harry doing
maybe?
a dance when you're talking about it? Or there's no dancing? He's got to make up. It's similar to what I'm doing with Higgins, but he's got to make up 30 receptions on Keenan Allen.
Yeah, but you know what,
from
Sal?
last year.
Here's the thing. Last year he had 9 touchdowns. 2018 he had 10 touchdowns. Faltered in between there, but you just always get the impression that this guy could be scoring like a touchdown a game. He's big, he's fast, he's a go up and get it type of guy near the end zone. If you think the Chargers are going to have a big year, he's going to have a big year. His targets last year, and this is to me the biggest thing, were 40 more than any other previous year in his career. So Herbert, he had 129 targets last year. Herbert really likes to throw to him. He could really be, this could be his breakout year. And at 30-1, I think you might be able to get him even better than that, like 35 or 40-1 in some places. But I think it's worth the flyer on this guy because he is,
not bad.
To me,
ready
for a breakout. He's ready for a breakout season. He's due for one.
Yeah. All right, Brother Bry, I like what you're thinking here. Number 1 receiver for sure for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was looking at Lamb at 20-1. Look, this is, I feel like there's more value in the receiving touchdowns than there are in receiving yards. And I know this is similar to what you did with Higgins here because he only had 6, right? And CeeDee Lamb's similar. But I'll be honest, CeeDee Lamb, because he was the guy I wanted the Raiders to draft 2 years ago. But, he hasn't been as good as expected. I mean, I think part of that has to do with Dak. Part of that had to do with the offense in the last couple of years. But letting Amari go means the Cowboys are definitely more comfortable, right, with Lamb becoming the guy, and he should see a much bigger workload, right? So I think this is a year, I think he has I expect a monster year, I think, from him this year. So like double-digit touchdowns makes sense to me. I could definitely see a breakout. I wouldn't be shocked if he had 13 to 15 touchdowns. That's not out of the question for him. I know, again, the touchdowns have been low the first 2 years, but that's definitely not out of the question for him. But yeah, I like kind of everybody's pick. I think Williams at 30-1 too. That's not bad for a guy to get 10 to 12.
I have him in my miscellaneous wide receiver prop section. So as long as you're saying CeeDee Lamb, 10 or more touchdowns get you plus 210. And by the way, I would take unders on all these guys. I reiterate what I said yesterday about the running backs. In general, to take everybody's unders in total yards and touchdowns. And I promise you will win. But CeeDee Lamb, here's a positive one because I want to stay positive here. 10 or more touchdowns plus 210. Why not, Parlay Kid? Cooper out of the way. Like Bryce says, he had 6 and 21. He had 5 and 20, but everything's going up. Receptions, he had 5 more. He had 170 more yards. He's their go-to guy. And I don't know, Darren, could you see him with 8 touchdowns in 5 games? Everyone going nuts about CeeDee Lamb, and then he disappears? No, he keeps it going. I just think he has to be the man until Gallup returns. And I think he's going to be targeted close to 10 times a game. I mean, what do you got? Jalen Tolbert and Noah Brown? Like, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb when the chips are down, right?
Sal, I mean, Lamb over 7.5 touchdown catches this year is ridiculously low. It's been the argument for Cowboys fans, and I've been saying this for years. It's a philosophy of their offense, whereas all right, you could double Lamb, and we're just gonna throw to everybody else, right? So Lamb would have games with like 2 catches, and I don't like this philosophy that the Cowboys have had. I think they're changing it this year. Whereas, you can't tell me that teams weren't doing that against Devonte Adams too, but you find a way to get him the ball. I think the Cowboys do that with Lamb this year, is that they're going to move him around. They're going to put him outside. They're going to put him in the slot. They're going to move him all around the offense and find ways, maybe some rub routes and those type of things to get him the ball. You have to. There's no other choice. I think Lamb on everything over is the way to go. Even though, we talk about hitting the unders, Lamb is destined to probably go over this year just because the Cowboys are going to throw the ball, and Lamb right now is, easily the biggest weapon.
Yeah, we're going over on all these miscellaneous props, even though I advise against it. Harry, go ahead. Devonte Smith. I know you don't believe in Jalen Hurts, but you like Devonte Smith over the yards and like Jalen Hurts over touchdowns. I'm not sure where you are on the Eagles anymore, but go ahead.
Yeah, I do like Smith over 875.5 yards at -112. Ex-Heisman Trophy winner. Special talent. In his rookie season, he led Philly in receptions, targets, yards, touchdowns. Had 916 yards last year and averaged over 14 yards a grab. More than 2/3 of his grabs were for first downs. Add A.J. Brown for the first time in ages. Philly has a tremendous 1-2 combo at receiver, and it's led by Smith. I think he goes well. Like I said, rookie season, over 900. First Philly wide receiver to go over 900 in like 7 years. So Devonte Smith to go over 875 with 916 last year. That's a W.
All right, brother Bry, Kyle Pitts. I think he had 1 touchdown last year, right? I mean, I had him. I bid like $36 on him in a fantasy league. And worse than that, I think it was like 1 in 20 red zone targets or something. So, but you like him over 4.5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
with,
I like
Mariota.
over 4.5. Yeah, like you said, 1 touchdown last season, but he still had for a rookie tight end. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards last year. He looked great so far in the preseason, but I expect a breakout season in terms of touchdowns, right? He's their number 1 guy on offense, right? When you look at their offense, they need to look at, like you said, with red zone targets, they need to look for him more in the red zone. Although he could easily break a 50-yard touchdown too. That's how talented he is. I mean, this is a guy, when he was at Florida, had 12 touchdowns in just 8 games, right? So I think I definitely, again, wouldn't be shocked if this guy is, I think he's going to get 8 or 9 touchdowns this season and go way over that 4.5.
All right. Yeah, that was, I'm trying to think what it was probably. It had to be around 4.5 last year,
that's
too,
right?
Right? Couldn't have been more. All right.
Yeah.
You like over, Parlay Kid, I don't know about this. My God. I mean, Mooney over 4.5 from Simeon. How's this going to happen?
I love this pick.
Sure.
This pick goes out to Bob Dabrowski, who trashed Harry on Twitter yesterday. You can get into that later.
Find this.
Darnell Mooney. Harry, do you know how many catches he had last year?
I'm going to say 80.
81 catches, over 1,000 yards. He had 4 TDs playing in a miserable offense. Those numbers.
Thanks to Dalton.
Well, a lot of that towards the end of the year was from Dalton, correct. His last 4 games, he had 29 catches, tons of targets, was really one of the best receivers in football in the last quarter of the season. People, because they're just thinking the Bears are going to be so terrible this year. But I'm convinced that Fields is going to have a pretty good year. Mooney is his number 1. Mooney's the number 1 receiver. I mean, these stats kind of make him close to a
Look at the
number
rest of the
1
lineup
receiver.
they got.
And he had 4 touchdowns last year. He's not going to go over 4.5. He might be over this by week 5 this year. I'm not kidding.
I think they cut him, Parlay Kid. I'm sorry to say. I'm just looking at him now. The Bears cut him.
They sell weed sodas in Long Island?
This kid is legit. He put up numbers in an offense that was really bad. Playing in in a cold weather city, he was really good at the end of the year. 29 catches in his last 4 games. Fields is going to feed this kid. He is a number 1 receiver. He really is.
I'm not going to argue with that. He is their number one receiver. You got Byron Pringle. You got Villas Jones, the what was it, like a 30-year-old rookie at Tennessee. Equanimous,
Well, like we just
St.
said
Brown.
with CeeDee, I mean, Mooney's numbers are basically CeeDee's numbers from last year, right?
Right.
I mean,
all right. I just don't think the Bears. I have the Bears
saying,
under
Harry,
4.5 touchdowns.
Certainly are.
So there you go.
Certainly are.
Those are our receiver. Let's look at the rookies though. Rookie leaders in receiving yards. This is a fun one too. You got Pickens for the Steelers, Burks for the Titans, and London, who I think is starting off hurt, right? A little banged up. They'd say he might be playing for Atlanta at 6-1, and Chris Olave at 750. I'm taking Olave. I love this guy. I took him in a supplemental fantasy draft yesterday. He was the third wide receiver off the board, surrounded by Michael Thomas. Someday, maybe he'll play. Jarvis Landry. I just think, speaking of Michael Thomas, I just think these Ohio State receivers have a certain maturity to them with Michael Thomas and Terry McLaurin. They don't need Curtis Samuel, even, believe it or not. Decent first years. They don't take forever to get going. And you have a quarterback that's not afraid to sling it. Jameis over 5,100 yards a couple of years ago. Already, these two have good chemistry in practice. They, showing bombs and, do what you will with preseason tape, but he is not, gives me no reason to think that he can't come through at plus 750. And I think is going to be a highish powered offense with a lot of targets spread out. Chris Olave plus 750. Bry, I like this one because you got the best quarterback with receivers who are decent. But one of them is going to be very, very good with Patrick Mahomes.
Right,
Sky
that's
Moore,
the thing. So
11-1.
Sky Moore at 11-1. The rookie draft class for the receivers was deep this year, but we're not going to see I don't think we're going to see monster numbers, right? But like we saw last year and the year before with Jefferson and Chase. London may be the guy who's more of a number one, but with their QB situation, right. Plus you said he's a little bit banged up. But yeah, I like Moore at 11-1. He's going to be good with Mahomes. Now, it's either going to be this year or next year. Maybe it takes a little bit more time, but supposedly they're playing really well together. Mahomes trusts Moore already. He'll stretch the field, right, in terms of missing Hill. Mahomes will be able to go for him down the field. So I do think the winner this year is a little closer to like 1,000 yards, and that's not like you said. I mean, Kelsey's obviously going to put up his numbers. And then everybody else is kind of a crapshoot. I mean, look, they could have 4 guys get like 600 yards possibly, but somebody's going to have to step up and get closer to 1,000 yards. So,
well, I feel bad for the Sky Moore pick. Why not? Because Kelsey, as Harry says, could get 15 touchdowns and win the MVP. Even though the guy who had 16 touchdowns receiving last year didn't get 1 vote, but I don't know. I feel bad for Sky Moore and this pick here. But all right, Parlay Kid, you have the same reasoning probably with Dobbs, right? 14-1 for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Dobbs has had a really good preseason, Sal. At one time, we heard a lot of high praise coming from Aaron Rodgers about Dobbs, about his route running, etc. The last week or so, Rodgers' tone has changed a bit about Dobbs, maybe some more than typical drops in practice, maybe a little lack of mental focus, but kind of the same talk we heard last year with Chase, right? Late in camp about the drops, etc. So these guys have been catching balls their whole lives. Dobbs, I used to watch him at Nevada. Was dominant receiver there, 6'2", 205 pounds, big receiver. I don't see any. This guy's going to crack their lineup. He's going to get a shot, and he could thrive. He could thrive here. I just think, being that Rodgers doesn't have like a main go-to guy, he'll be looking for one, and maybe by games 3 or 4, Dobbs could be the guy, and he's averaging, 70, 80 yards per game down the back stretch, and he gets over 1,000 yards. And at 14-1, I'll roll the dice on this. We know how these rookie receivers thing goes. They've been getting better and better coming out of college the last few years, but typically there could be some struggles early on.
We're going to go over the awards next week. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think we did it a couple months ago, right? Probably right after the drafts. We made our unofficial picks for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I had mentioned then, I'm going to have money on Olave for sure, but I had mentioned there, and probably a smart bet is to take the Packers rookie wide receiver and the Chiefs rookie wide receiver and just load up on those guys. At the time, I was looking at Christian Watson, although he is now, it looks like, taking a back seat to Dobbs there. You could still get Watson at 16-1 for offensive rookie of the year. We'll look into that as that goes along. Dobbs is 14-1 and Sky Moore is 12-1. So big numbers out there for everybody. All right, that's our receiving breakdown right there. Oh, I did? Oh, I'm sorry. That's not it. All right, Harry, go ahead. Hit us with a rookie. Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I actually like Parlay Kids there a lot more than that Bears selection, no doubt about it. But listen, I'm going to take Alec Pierce, Colts, 20-1. Matt Ryan doesn't exactly have a lot of household names to throw to after Michael Pittman. On the team, the Colts' second lead receiver last year, Zach Pascal's in Philly. So I'm going to go with Alec Pierce. Pierce led the Cincinnati Bearcats in receptions and yards last year, averaged 17 yards a catch, tremendous athlete, 6'4", and ran the 40 and a 4.4 time at the combine. Should get plenty of action, plenty of touches for a rookie at 20-1. I think that's pretty good value.
All right, there you go. No worry. I love all these numbers. I really do. But when it comes to yards and touchdowns, go under.